Welcome to Happy Trails Hiking. On this station, you will find content about park travel as well as living a healthy lifestyle. If you're interested in those sorts of things, I would invite you to subscribe. My name is Kay, and this is the Healthy Lifestyle Show. On this show, I want to offer you encouragement to live the life you love. This is Motivation Monday. Let me encourage you to use that hashtag today on your social media posts. I would love to retweet or share the things that you find motivational today. You can tweet at me at Happy Trails Hike, or find me on Facebook or Instagram at Happy Trails Hiking. Today, our show is brought to you by our photography store, and you can find photos like the one above my head at happytrailshiking.com/store. Good morning to everyone in the chat. It's good to see you. Gary from Life on the Trail is here, as well as Marty Screw Our Family Adventures, Lori Bryant, and the Outdoor Nomad. Today, we have a great guest for you. Matt and I met him by happenstance at a trailhead in Grand Teton National Park, and I am so glad that we did. Aaron Linsdau is a polar explorer and author. He skied 720 miles alone in Antarctica, walked across Yellowstone National Park in the winter, crossed the Greenland tundra alone, has slept in the Sahara Desert, attempted to climb Denali solo, and successfully climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Elbrus. He still has all of his fingers and toes. That's quite an accomplishment. Another accomplishment, Aaron is an Eagle Scout and has received the Outstanding Eagle Scout Award. Using the strategies that he shares during his motivational talks at conferences and meetings to increase resilience and overcome adversity, Aaron was able to set the world record for surviving the longest expedition to the South Pole in history. He was 82 days all alone on the ice. Welcome, Aaron. It is good to see you today. Thanks for coming. Whoa. Sorry. There we go.
Hi there, Kay. Thank you very much for having me on Happy Trails Hiking.
Well, it's good to have you. I'm glad that you're here. Hey, guys, if you all could share this out, I would love for more folks to meet Aaron today. And he does have a YouTube channel, and that is down in the description. And I've got some other links that I'll share with you throughout the show. I have to ask for some background here for our audience. What made you decide that you wanted to take a journey like this across Antarctica?
Oh, we're already getting into that why question.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, it's one of those more complex things. The simple answer is that I wanted to get away from the work that I was doing. And it was a midlife crisis moment, really, where, okay, I'm in midlife. Do I shave my head, go bald, get a beard cut, and buy the Corvette? Or do I do something completely different? And I've been training and working towards going to Antarctica for years. The timing was right. The money was right. And I said, you know what? I need to leave the workplace I'm in and let's go do it. The longer, more complex story is, as a kid, I had always wanted to go to an alien planet, to go somewhere completely different. And that's exactly what I did. It was really a dream, one of those childhood, hey, I love Star Wars and Star Trek. Wouldn't it be cool to be on some other planet? And after I saw pictures in National Geographic, I think it was around 2002 or 2003, of what the interior of Antarctica actually looks like, I got the thing in my head. I just couldn't get it out. And it just, I would say, slowly consumed me, but just became more and more in the forethought of my mind of, hey, this is something I want to do. And so I originally thought, oh, I just want to go there, take a cruise. And then, hey, can you camp? And then, oh, can you ski there? And this is begin, if you'll excuse the expression, snowballing into the most grandest expedition I could possibly conceive of until I ended up doing what I did.
Wow. That's just amazing to me. We went through a midlife crisis a bit. We did buy a Corvette. I did not shave my head, but
the bald fat guy thing. No,
you problem. Know, that's the way that goes. Hello, Timey Lives. We have a splash raid today. Thank you for coming over, Timey. This is Aaron Linsdau. He is a friend of mine and, well, acquaintance. We met on a trail. It's all good, but
trail friend.
It's a trail friend, yes. Anyway, and he is here to share his experiences about solo hiking across Antarctica today. So he has a film on Amazon, which is really, really very good, and you all should go watch that. And Lori Bryant is here. She's my sister, by the way.
Hi, Lori. Polar exploring by accident.
Yes, there is a bit of a delay. So we talk and then they get the talking here in a little while, about 45 seconds after we say something. So, and Marty's crew says we're all friends on the trail. And that is true. And that's one of the things that I've learned to love about hiking is I can talk to just about anybody on the trail and they're going to have something friendly to say most of the time. Yeah. So number 2. We always get around to food on this channel. So in your film, you show the food that you're taking and how you had to ship it all in its original containers and all that stuff. But you also talk about your breakfast with breakfast dusts and butter. We love talking about food, and it is a huge motivation for us. So would you like to talk about a little bit more about the calories you consumed on your trek? Butter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so during the day, you're as a polar explorer, you have to drag a sled, and it's usually around 300 to 330 pounds. It's roughly equivalent to taking your refrigerator out, knocking it down, and dragging it for hundreds and hundreds of miles. And as you can imagine, the workload is extreme on that, so you need a lot of food, but also it's super cold, minus 30 to minus 50 degrees, which of course also requires a lot of food. So most of the time you're burning anywhere from 7 to 10,000 calories. I mean, it's super intense. And the thing is, humans can only normally consume about 6,000 calories before you just get sick. So one of the things that I did was I supplemented my food with butter, and that was about 1/3 of my calories because fat has roughly twice the caloric content compared to carbs and protein. So even though I would have loved to have a steak or something, one, I wouldn't have been able to keep it from spoiling. 2, that's a lot of food to carry. 3, you can't bring it to Chile straight out, right? And 4, there's no way to cook it. That's not possible. So multiple aspects to why, hey, I would love quote unquote healthy food. And I know your channel has healthy food on there, but this is purely a get the vitamins and minerals and as many calories as you consume, because one of the things, the old saying is that in polar exploration, hunger and cold are your constant companions. And that is utterly true. Now, as far as you were talking about breakfast, normally a breakfast was a cup of granola, a cup of whole powdered milk, 3 heaping tablespoons of cane sugar. Sounds like a great breakfast. And a stick of butter like this. So, Land O'Lakes, right?
Right.
So I would normally, what I would do is I'd take the whole stick, I would chop it up, put it into my cereal cup, and then stir it up. I would pour water in there and literally just put my titanium spoon in there, get a glop, put it in my mouth and start chewing. But one of the problems is when you put your tongue on the flagpole at minus 30 degrees, what happens?
And kind of disintegrates and sticks. And
it freezes. So every morning I've got this spoon that's minus 40 degrees, and I would have to put it on my tongue. I mean, it's just like this endless series of minor annoyances that you have to deal with. So
does not sound minor.
Of adversity like that is just simply, are you willing to put up with these things and not let them emotionally wear you down? Now, as a motivational speaker, I talk about these things, but I actually show people that, yes, people talk about, I do this, that. I will now put my butter where my mouth is I would literally just unwrap a stick of butter like this, and you do that. And normally, and in the morning, I would just chop up the butter in the cereal and put it in there. But I would carry 2 sticks of butter a day. So the second stick, I would eat my Laura bars or granola or almonds. And then with the stick of butter, I literally had to chew on that butter as part of my food. Now, of course, you think I'm rude talking with my mouth full, but literally that is what you have to do to have enough calories to be able to do this sort of expedition. So in the realm of healthy eating and everything, 6,000 calories a day probably would kill you. I'm not a doctor.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'd kill me.
Yeah, you wouldn't be so slim, fit, and trim. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, probably not. But
Yeah, so butter or coconut oil or something is key to success, just because it's all about calories. Because I would ski for 75 minutes at a time and rest for 15 minutes, and no matter what, I was thinking about how thirsty I was and how hungry I was all the time. It just becomes an absolute obsession.
we have several questions about food, and I knew we would. I do want to say hello to a few new people who've come in. Panic D Paranormal History is here, as well as Matt Cook, Oregon, Pam's Great Outdoor Adventures, Within Hiking Distance, and the Video Call-In Show came in. That's awesome. So thank you all for being here. This is Aaron Linsdau, and he's a polar explorer and motivational speaker, and he hiked across Antarctica to the South Pole. And so I'm excited to have him here. And yeah, people are saying healthy and things like that. Maybe they didn't get the beginning where they knew what was going on. But one question, yeah, healthy when you're skiing that far and you're all by yourself. And what was Aaron's favorite snack during his adventure? Do you have a favorite snack?
See, the funny thing about the food is you actually have to eat the same thing every day, because you don't want to have anything that bothers your stomach or weirds you out, because you're thousands of miles from help. So the option of bringing Pepto-Bismol, it would freeze, or Tums. If you have to do that constantly, you're in real trouble. But
Sure.
the food that I would eat would be mostly sweet and creamy up to the afternoon, and I would get sick of it. So the salty almonds, Blue Diamond Smokehouse, or the wasabi, that was huge. That was like thank goodness, give me some salt, give me some other food. So that would really be the yay. And also it brought shot blocks, the little gummies in the little sleeve.
Sure.
And granted, they would take a long time to eat them, and they felt like they're going to rip out filling. Yeah, that break from the constant sweet, creamy, granola-y. Every day I would eat a full bar of Lindt dark chocolate.
For 82 days.
Every day, same thing. The only real variety I had is maybe the flavor of Larabar or Probar. And then for dinner, my freeze-dried food, I had 5 different variants, but all the same sort of mountain house thing. I learned the hard way that lasagna is not a good choice, because that cheese just solidifies on the spoon.
Yeah.
And it's a major production to scrape that off with your teeth. So favorite snack was the near end of the day, salty, savory sort of thing to get away from the sweets of the day.
There was a suggestion that maybe a wooden spoon would have been helpful. I don't know, but the Outdoor Nomad is interested in knowing, how did you keep your food from freezing? Everything is a popsicle out there.
Okay, absolutely. So the butter, being oil, it never turned solid. It was like eating a bar of pretty solid sharp cheddar cheese. The Larabars and Pro bars, yeah, they turn rock solid. So at night, what I would do is I would take those bars, put them in my jacket, in my armpit, sort of thing. It's a great place to put your food. Warm it up, and then take the bar and in the bag, munch it until it was little chunks in that bag. And then during the day, I would crack it open, toss one in my mouth, wait till it softened up a bit, and chew it, because people have broken teeth. So all the food you have to bring, you have to think, if I threw this in the freezer for 3 days and got it out, could I eat it completely in 10 minutes? The dark chocolate melts. The cereal, it's all dried, but you put the water in, you stir it up. At that temperature, it starts freezing pretty fast, so you have a slushy for breakfast.
Okay.
The almonds, no problem. Freeze-dried, of course, you've got the hot water. But all the food is designed so it can be hard flash frozen and still be eaten.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we have a few new folks in the room. Arta Morbid, who's from Chicago, and you mentioned to me before the show that you're going to be in Chicago here soon.
Yeah.
At some point in time. And Mama 4 is here, and I think those are all of our new folks. So welcome to everybody here in the chat. And my next question for you is, to prepare for the physical part of your expedition, to physically prepare, you hiked in Greenland and you hiked in Yellowstone in the winter.
Yes.
how did you mentally and emotionally prepare for being alone for so long? 82 days. That's a long time to not see another living being or tree or anything.
Yeah, essentially you end up in what's called solitary confinement. It's probably the most effective punishment for humans ever. Is you're out there by yourself. And so my objective, knowing that I was going to do this, was that I would go backpacking in the Sierras. I lived in Southern California at that time, so I could drive up. But the whole idea is just to go out and just experience these things and do the challenges of backpacking. I would do up to 40 miles in a weekend, simply to see, okay, how far can I push myself, knowing that I'm extremely fatigued. I'm going to have to drive home 6 hours, and I'm not going to get home till 2 a.m. or something. So I knew that eventually I was going to do this. I had to get out there and put myself in tougher and tougher circumstances, knowing that I had to build that up. So it wasn't just out of the blue where, hey, I'm going to go do this by myself. I mean, there are only 3 Americans who have ever succeeded in skiing solo to the South Pole. I'm number 2. So it's one of those challenges. I've had other people call and ask, hey, I want to do this expedition. There was a lawyer from Colorado a couple years ago who tried it. And he said, I'm looking at this expedition. I have lots of experience rowing across the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean with teams and all that. I said, ooh, wait a minute. Have you ever done an expedition by yourself in extreme cold for, say, 10 days? And he said, no, I'll be fine. I said, okay, don't take this wrong, but you've got a wife and kids, right? Yes. The justification system in your mind will kick in. And what I mean by that is that your brain is going to start giving you excuses to say, I'm going to quit because my legs itch or my hair hurts. I mean, my hair would literally start to hurt. It's the weirdest thing ever. But my body would start giving me any excuse and reason to quit. And so in knowing that would likely happen, I would do these longer and longer treks by myself to prepare for the experience. But really, I loved it simply because it was me and me alone. That when things went wrong, that was my fault. When things went great, I would say that's almost more luck and blessing than anything else. But going and doing these solo treks by myself in the years leading up to this made it so that I was relatively capable. I mean, my mind's still weirded out from the lack of environmental feedback since I had white and maybe a blue sky. I started seeing color blobs in the snow. I would see ravens in the sky in my peripheral vision. I mean, your brain just goes weird, and mine is no exception. So that's just the thing of being a human, is you have to know that those experiences are out there. You're going to get a flood of emotions, especially when things go wrong. And you have to say, all right, this has gone bad, but that's okay. I'm still alive. I'm uninjured. Is it possible to keep going? And it is. You'd be amazed what you can do given the right motivation. So
is that how you got, this was a little farther down, but is that how you got past your own negative self-talk? Because I know you had Monster with you. I have Trekker. I'm not alone all the time, but I know you had Monster with you, and Monster was he like your Wilson from
Pretty much, yeah, that's what it would be.
And so is that how you kind of got through your negative self-talk? Because in the movie, there are some times when you're like, no, I'm an idiot. And, you know, I could feel that for you. I was like, oh my gosh. So
yeah, it can really take you over. And I struggle with that a lot, because you begin the tuna death spiral where you just start going deeper and deeper. And I started thinking like, whoa, wait, hang on, back up. Because what happens when you're outside skiing, and this happens for me and everybody else, is the weather's tough, the loads, wind, all these things. But as soon as I would be done with my day, I would set up the tent and jump inside. It was a calming effect, because around day 50, the tent actually became my psychological home, where everything had its place. I felt comfortable. I'd hop in and, it's not so bad. And so I knew that at the end of the day, I had that place where I could hop in. The stress of work, if you will, would go away, even though I had a lot more work to do. But knowing that I had some place to escape in, granted it was a tent in the middle of Antarctica, was everything, a place where I could hang my troubles. And that really helped me out.
Sure. question from within hiking distance who is watching that they've done a lot of hiking around in the Western US, but they're wondering how long you trained before you went.
In total, 10 years of
10
prepping
years.
and training.
Okay.
But I had from Greenland to Antarctica was 4 years. So I had that expedition across the Greenland and tundra by myself, which was probably not that intelligent. And then I had a couple different expeditions in Yellowstone, either crossing the park, going in, looping out, just constantly doing those things. But the final physical push where I'm towing tires for 8 hours a day, that was about 6 months. I started or maybe 5 months, started in June and kicked off the expedition in November. So it takes a long time to build up not only the strength in your muscles, but also in your tendons and ligaments, because and with that kind of load, it's relatively easy if you're not trained to tear an Achilles or something catastrophic. So building up your connective tissue strength was key.
Well, I mean, just on the Death Canyon trail hike that I met you on, we did 3.5 miles up and 3.5 miles down. And we hadn't been hiking long distances or in any elevation at all. And so, yeah, my knees were all wobbly, so I can't even imagine. Lori Bryant wants to know what's the name of his movie, and that's Antarctic Tears. And I also dropped the link to his books in the chat.
Cool.
And that is his website as well there. So, guys, if you want to hit that link, it will take you to all of Aaron's stuff. If there are any other questions, please make sure you put at Happy Trails Hiking. That'll allow me to see them. People have been doing that pretty well, though. So for those of you who might be new in the chat, this is Aaron Linsdau, polar explorer, motivational speaker, and hiked across Antarctica to the South Pole. Now, I noticed that in your movie, you became sort of a MacGyver. Well, because you can't carry a toolbox with you, obviously, but everything, quote unquote, and that might be my quote, but you felt like everything was breaking at some point. Do you want to, talk about how many times you thought, okay, that's it. This thing broke. I'm done. I'm going to die out here. That's it.
Interestingly enough, I will honestly say I never had the thought of it's over, I'm throwing in the towel. It was I'd saved and planned and trained for this for so long. I wouldn't say I bankrupted myself, but all of my cash was into this expedition. It's well north of 6 figures. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
But when my first set of skis broke on my sleds, I just got super upset. More of, how could this happen to me? Why didn't I see this coming? And then once that happened, I knew that eventually the second set would fail. So I had that. The shovel breaking was pretty severe, but I knew I could get through that because I could still kneel down and just use the blade of the shovel. My ski boots, even though they're $2,000 special custom order from Norway, that was like, oh my gosh, are you freaking kidding me?
Right.
But the sleds runners breaking was salvation, because that allowed me to create this clamp to glue my boots back together. So even though you might have these tragedies in your life, oh, that's horrible, maybe, just maybe, that is something that's preparing you or giving you a tool that in the future will enable you to do something that you couldn't have done otherwise. I mean, if those sled runners and brackets didn't break, I have no idea how I would have fixed my boots. That broke. I started getting a little bit of mildew in the tent because even though it's minus 40 degrees, the solar radiation is so intense that any moisture on the tent would actually start to grow life. I mean, I'm a fanatic about keeping things clean, but it was just super hard to do. The one where I knew I was like, oh, I'm in trouble, is when I coughed up blood.
Oh.
That was this isn't good. And I didn't tell anyone, because if I did.
I don't know that you mentioned that in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh?
Yeah, that's in the book.
Oh, it's in the book.
Yeah.
I need to read
Coughing up blood was, I would say, near catastrophic, because if I would have told the company that was maintaining me and watching me, they would have evacuated me.
Wow.
And so it's one of those, kick in the antibiotics, start cranking on this, knowing that, boy, And that was early on, day 12 or 16, because I had bronchitis. I mean, I started off on the worst possible setup. So it was an ultimate, are you willing to take this pile of junk and keep moving forward? It's simply a question of life, really.
Okay. Antarctica. Sorry, I'm reading and trying to talk at the same time. Life on the Trail has a question that says, what was the legal authorization or permit process like to get permission to do an excursion across Antarctica?
Oh, that's a good one. So as an American citizen traveling with Antarctic Logistics and Expeditions, ALE, I was able to go under their banner and flag, and I didn't have to do any paperwork. They do have to file all sorts of things, but that's why you pay them a fortune to deal with that. You could, if you decided you had the chutzpah and the boat to do it, you could sail to Antarctica, cruise around, and come back. There's no one to stop you. I mean, Antarctica is under a treaty of 50 or 56 countries, whatever it is now. But there's no police force. There's no, hey, you can't come here, do not enter. If you can somehow get to Antarctica and cruise around, technically you're supposed to have a permit, but yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
For me, I didn't have to do anything, but other people from other countries, you do have to do that based on your status in the treaty. It's really quite a thing, and it's a process.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I guess I have 2 questions left, and we have about 4 minutes left. The half hour goes by really fast. So this is Motivation Monday, and you motivated me to work harder and drive more. And watching your movie is one of the things, lots of people work out to music and things, but I'm like, if Aaron can do that, I can do one more set of, or one more rep of whatever. So, and as a matter of fact, the day I met you on the trail, I made the plan for the Healthy Lifestyle Show.
Nice.
So as a motivational speaker, who motivates you?
Who motivates you? Darth Vader. And I'll show you. So in order to be a polar explorer, you have to be able to do this. And friends and family, this is literally the look you have to do, right? So who motivates me is the people in my life and in my family where I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to have to look like a crazy bad guy from space. And you got to do some pretty wacky things. So my grandfather was huge and instrumental in me going on this expedition. Almost everybody else was poo-pooing it, but he was the huge motivator of when you hear a crazy idea, and I have a lot of them, I fish it out knowing that most people say, hey, that's nuts. But I find the one person, whoever it is in my world, that says, hey, that sounds fun. And I live off that. So usually my grandfather will do that. He's 93, but when you have wacky ideas, it's actually hard to find people to go raw for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's great. It's great that you have a person in your life that will do that. I think that everybody needs that. And that's kind of the place where I come every day, is that, bring people here for Motivation Monday to try to be the rah person for them. So
this is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Artem Morbid, his name's Frank, says, Aaron looks like an awesome and fun guy. Props to this amazing person. I just met him today, but it's great. It's great. And he's got some great stories on his channel, by the way. I'm going to buy his book this afternoon because obviously the movie doesn't tell all of it. But speaking of your book and film, what is the one takeaway that you want people to get from your story?
The biggest takeaway is that your background, your financial history, your gender, your height, your strength doesn't matter, because if you look at me, I mean, this jacket's all bulky. I'm just trained as a skinny computer engineer. I've met another explorer in Antarctica. She's 5'4" from Greenland. If she's 110 pounds, she dragged her sled across the continent too. So the biggest takeaway is, wherever you came from, wherever you grew up, however you came to be where you are, that absolutely does not determine your future. My parents worked minimum wage jobs in the 70s through the 80s until they they came up a bit. So I didn't come from money. I didn't come from some Harvard education. The key thing is to think, oh, I don't have this or that. That's bull. You can do the craziest things in your life because it takes no more energy to have a grand dream than it does a small dream.
Awesome. Awesome. And I agree completely. And I've been watching Aaron since we got back from Grand Tetons, and so in July, so about 2 months now. Yep. And Aaron does go home again, and you can see the trailer park that Aaron grew up in on his channel, which I found very, very interesting. And
Chadron.
Yeah, it was just it was a wonderful video. Just watching Aaron explore his old stomping grounds and seeing all that. Thank you so much for being with us today, Aaron. It's been awesome having you. And
thank you, Kay.
If you'll hang out for just a second, I'll finish out the show. Be right back to you.
Cool.
Okay. All right, guys. If you've enjoyed this interview, if there are 3 things I need you to do. 1, share this video to give others a little bit of motivation. 2, subscribe to Aaron's YouTube channel, buy his books, watch his movie, visit his website and let him know that you met him here. And 3, this one's kind of important and I'm learning about it all the time. 3, come back and leave a comment on this video once it processes, just to say, hey, I really enjoyed this live, because it will help the YouTube SEO find it better, because the more comments it gets after the fact, the more it lets YouTube know that people actually want to see it. So those are my 3 requests for you today. If you enjoyed this video, my request for you every day is to go out and live the life you love today. Thank you so much for being here today. And remember, you are not replaceable. Have a great day, guys.